job raking it down. You can tell how far it was up and how it's cooked down. You have to cook all the moisture out of it so it don't mold, and it gets a little thicker so it stays on your biscuit better. And we're about ready to take it off.
We're just about ready to put it in a jar right now.
Well, cool. Yeah. So how long's this been on here?
Since 9:30, and
This one batch?
Just one batch.
Yeah.
Since 9:30 this morning?
This morning.
It's like almost 4.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to make it, don't it?
Yeah. Certainly does.
So this is your first batch of the day.
Yeah.
So
You'll average about one batch a day. You won't get no more than that.
Well, so are you gonna sell this? What you do here?
Yeah. Well, we'll sell it down in Cumberland Gap this season. We'll be down there after we get this in jars.
Okay.
Cans.
Well, we'll film you down there too then.
Okay.
We're going back down there.
Okay.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll after we put it in jars, we'll take it down there. Our son's already down there. He's got a table and everything set up, so we're going to sell what we made today down there. There's no butter in that kettle at all, none. But the reason it's called apple butter is because of the consistency of that's right here. It's like butter. It's so thick, That's why it's called apple butter. I guess old people named it that, and it does kind of make a misconception of what it is. They think, well, it's got butter in it. What else is in there besides apples? Nothing. Apples, spices, and sugar. That's it. And most old people will use spices because they didn't want to sweeten it real sugar. They put a whole lot of sugar in it because that was expensive. It got expensive, So they put the spices to it, and it killed the taste there. It made it not seem as sour. The ground cloves. That's one thing we use, and it's ground cinnamon also. You can see the specks of that in the apple butter.
So there's not really a whole lot of ingredients in it, then, are there?
No, it's probably the most anything, and not having just the apples and the.
It's pure.
It's pure. Yeah. Almost like organic. Yeah.
So we like it more smooth, so we get an apple that cooks up really good, like a Macintosh, or even like a June apple or something. But a Macintosh will turn red like this and be real pretty, where a June apple, it just don't turn as dark. It'll almost look green, like it. So this is our preference. And they're in right now. Our Macintosh tree is full of apples. So.
Yeah, we bought this kettle off of a guy up at Rose Hill, Virginia, and thought we'd just make it for ourselves, just apple butter like this. Well, I think we made one batch for ourselves, and then it turned into other things like fall festivals wanted us to do apple butter. The National Park wanted us to do a 3-day event with them, making apple butter 3 days in a row. And then the next weekend, we made 2 days in a row at the Fall Festival at Middlesboro, Kentucky. And it just hits bloom from there. Every now and then somebody wanting us to do apple butter or Fall Festival, wanting us to do something at a little housing place like this, like in a Hensley settlement up on Cumberland Mountain. We've done it up there twice, making apple butter. So it really didn't start out to be a project like we've been doing, but it's turned into that.
So we really didn't have to learn how to do it.
No.
I said we didn't have to learn how to make it. Now we've been doing it for 20 years, but we didn't have to actually learn or go and watch somebody else because we had been making it since we were children, with our parents. And so it was just come easy, to start making it for ourselves. And then, like I said, festivals and things like that. And it's showing how people used to do it. And to me, it tastes better. It's better than any other way that you can make apple butter. So like this kettle, it's 170 years old. I know they've been doing it for 170. I don't really know when it started making apple butter. But we've even made blackberry jam in copper kettles.
So you sell what you made?
Yeah.
We started doing that. Yeah, we eventually didn't do it. Didn't start out eventually to do that. To sell what we made, we was going to use it ourselves. But when you make more than one batch a year, making 5 and 6 and 7 batches, you have to do something with it. It kind of piles up.
So what was your name?
Carl Wilder.
Carl, and you're
Lorine.
Lorine?
Wilder. Yeah.
Wilder. All right. So did you grow up in Ewing area?
Well, I did.
She did.
She did, yeah.
I grew up in on Brownies Creek in Bell County.
Bell County?
I grew up there. I spent 25 years there, and then I met her. We bought a house and moved to Ewing.
Did you make apple butter too as a kid? Did your
Yes,
family?
we made it, and we lived just like, you know.
We could have grown up. We could have been brother and sister. We were raised just alike.
We were probably raised like people in the 1800s instead of the 1900s, because we farmed, we raised hogs, we killed hogs, we put up stuff, we canned everything that was in the garden, and plowed with a mule. Didn't have no tractor, plowed with a mule. And I mean, people said, "Look, you used a mule?" I said, "I certainly did. When I grew up, I used a mule."
We was raised about, I guess, 2 generations maybe behind, because my mother was growing up in the 30s. You know, she was born in the 30s, and so she raised us like she was raised. And Daddy, he was just, you know, he had a pair of mules, and so he plowed out the gardens and had 2 gardens, one for summertime eating and then one for canning and putting up in the winter.
So what made you want to start doing it years after you did it as a kid?
Well, like I said, my mother, she just take a notion for apple butter. She missed not doing it. You know, she hadn't done it in, you know, a few years, like 20 years, I guess. And if she wanted apple butter, she'd have to borrow somebody's kettle. So we went in together and bought us a kettle. And so we just started making a batch. Whenever we'd run out of apple butter in the family, well, we'd just make us another batch. So then, like, people found out about us making it for festivals, and so we just started. Our son works at the national park, and so they would have festivals down there. Well, he knew we made apple butter, so they was wanting to know who could make apple butter. And he said, "Well, my mother and dad can." So we started down there, and just one thing to another. So we've been doing it kind of 20 years now for just around in the area. We enjoy it, you know, the people that comes around. Some people have never heard of it, and then some people will come and say, "Oh, my mom and dad did this," you know. And my grandmother, I remember when I was a child, my grandmother making this. So it brings back memories to people and gets a little enjoyment out of life, I guess. When we do colonial, you know, like we are dressed today, we kind of like to have pewter, because that's what they would have had back then, you know, and glassware or pewter. Yeah, we do reenactment Civil War, but then we kind of dress period for Civil War to make apple butter too.
Do you do the apple butter at the reenactments, the Civil War reenactment?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We have done it.
Rescue squad up there where we live, because they've got like a 28-gallon kettle, and their stir is probably 20 foot long, and it's simply because that they're putting a lot of fire on there and getting it done in about 4 hours, and the ground around it is saturated with apple butter, so that flops out.
So the sticks to keep from getting burnt.
Yeah, to keep from getting burned, because it will burn you.
You did it. You want to help?
Just have to take it off the fire. Well, we've done this quite a bit all day.
Don't want to waste a drop. before no apple butter was on the lid, on the rim of that.
Everybody says, how can you hold on that jar? So it's hot, Aaron. I said, yeah, but I've tried to get rid of it.
Get done before it gets hot.
Before it gets plumb hot where I can't stand it.
What do you mean? You grow your own apples?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure do.
Well, that saves you a lot of money because apples are expensive now.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a Macintosh apple tree right in our backyard. I mean, about maybe 10 feet from our back door. And it produces more than we can use.
So let me ask you a question first. Let's talk back about this right here. Why is it brass? Does that make it better?
Yes, it's spun brass. It's better than copper because it will not tarnish. The brass will not tarnish. The apple butter polish. I mean, it takes all the tarnish away from it. You know that there doesn't. And brass and copper is not good. It's really not good for you. You know so we thought I asked my mother-in-law. She said the brass is better. It's spun. It'll last longer. And she's right.
And what year is this pot? Now tell us about what
1853.
Wow.
Made in New York City.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of apple butter made in it because we've made it in it for 20 years, and I don't know how long. The guy that I bought it from, he made it in it for a while, and he decided he had two pots just alike. He said, "I'm gonna get rid of one of them." So I went up there and bought one off this one right here off of it. So we've made apple butter in it, and I don't know where. He said he got it from the Amish. So they've had it since the 1850s.
Wow.
I couldn't believe, it was that old. But I got to looking, and the bottom of it's black. But I rubbed enough of it off. It's got a 1853 date on it. Got New York City, New York. It gives I forget the company that made it, but it's got the name of the company that made it in New York City. Okay, the stir. The one that I've got is a reproduction because I made it myself because it was the one that was come with a kettle. I didn't like it. It wasn't sturdy enough. So I work at a place over in New Tazewell, and we have all kinds of wood and everything in there. And this guy told me, he said, just make your own. He said, make the stir, the part that goes down in the apples, out of yellow poplar, because that way it won't make the apples taste or nothing. And he said, make the handle out of maple. And that's what I done, and the supports on it too are made out of maple, and it's served me for 20 years like that.
Really?
Yes.
How about that?
Well, old people old people learned how to do things so things would taste good, last a long time.
Yellow poplar is what he said. Don't use oak, don't use nothing but yellow poplar. I didn't know that now. That was a new one on me, but it come to be true, yellow poplar. people would put coins in the bottom of these kettles to keep the apple butter from sticking when you put the stir in there and stirred, and they would use pennies. Well, I didn't like the idea of trying to have to sort out pennies out of when you get down to the bottom of this kettle. So I got me 2 silver dollars. One made in 1987 and the other made in 1989. And I started putting them in there every time that we made apple butter. And it has never stuck on us or nothing. It'll come out just as clean as can be right there because them 2 silver dollars. I move it around in there, keeping that kettle from sticking. I didn't know that. Now that's another thing I didn't know. I said surely they
learned a few things.
We've learned a few things, and it's come to pass. It's just like that way. You'll see the 2 silver dollars when we get down to the bottom of this.
There's 11 children in my family, and didn't have a lot of money, just had an old dirt farm, and so sugar is a preservative. So if you put sugar in it, you don't have these lids. We would run out of lids, and we would just put like paper or cloth and tie it on top of it to keep the bugs or something like that. Another thing, we eat it up really fast. And
usually jelly didn't last. It didn't last.
We eat the jelly first,
3 months,
and then the apple
gone.
butter. Like I said, sugar is a preservative, just like vinegar. How you do.
So you could just put a piece of cloth over top of it, and it'd be good for 3 months?
And it would keep. Yeah, to keep the bugs and things
Keep something out of it. It'll keep like that. That's 2 silver dollars right there.
We cooked it a long time today, so
And that keeps it from sticking.
That keeps it sticking. Your stir would hit them, it'll knock them this way, this way, and them 2 silver dollars will keep it from sticking. It has for us for 20 years now, so.
Not had any scorched or burnt apple butter.
None burnt.
Some out here for you guys to taste.
Yeah.
Nobody's eat all this thing. And this has been, we just laid our spoon that I stirred it with in this.
Okay.
Like I said, this plate is clean. It's just tarnishes, It gives a good taste. Okay.
Now taste of that and see what you think about it. What do you think?
That's good. Here you go, Jody. I know Jody wants some.
That is her mommy's recipe right there. What she said she never could get the recipe right, but just using cinnamon. Said it always lacking something. She said her mommy had never told her what else she put in besides cinnamon. So she said, somebody said, why don't you put cloves in it? And she said she put cloves in it. That was the missing ingredient. That's what makes that taste like that right there. The spices and everything are cinnamon and cloves. That's your most important ingredient. That's what makes it taste like that.
That's too good. That's too good.
Well, they must have had some of it before from you, huh?
Yeah.
That one guy, he bought a case at a time. Every time I worked with him over at England's where I worked.
Yeah.
And every time he'd want a case. I want a case of your all that. But he said, that goes awful good in the wintertime when he said, you just have hot biscuits and have butter.
You're right. Well, we won't get 4 of them that you made over there. Who'd I pay?
Just pay her.
Okay, there you go.
And I'll give you got a box?
He'll have to have a box.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
Don't knock Lucas's horses down.
I heard some of them are sealing before we got them. If you separate them, they'll seal faster because they're so hot together. It'll take them a while to seal. But I think one's already sealed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Now, how do you know they're sealed? What, do they pop in?
Yeah.
there's
See
that
the
little-
indentation?
Oh, okay.
It'll seal.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So it's sealed.
Sealed.
All righty.
Kind of sealed herself. That's hot to pull around.
Well,
while they're hot like that, they won't seal though. Man, it has to cool down a whole lot.
Cool down.
Okay.
Good meeting you all.
Good meeting you.
See you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Ow,